news at 5:30.
And coming up on 11 News, a scam popping up in Colorado Springs you need to know about. A lot of people are falling for this one. Good evening, I'm Tony Keith, and thanks so much for joining us. We start with an 11 call for action alert. Scammers posing as utility workers are trying to take your money. Colorado Springs Utilities notified us this morning of a recent spike in scam calls. 11 News reporter Ashley Franco joins me live in studio. And Ashley, Springs Utilities told you this one's got a lot of people's attention.
KKTV.com and click on Find It. Tony?
Thank you, Ashley. A driver hit a man in Colorado Springs and left him there. That's according to police. The crash happened last night just after 9, just south of Platte on Murray. The man was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. At last check with police, there was no description of the suspect or the vehicle involved. The investigation, of course, is ongoing. Well, turning to our no-wait weather with meteorologist Jordan Sherman.
And our fire danger as well. Tony, back to you.
Thanks, Jordan. You know it's fall when you hear the word brisk. Well, this is happening right now. A benefit for the family members of fallen heroes. Country music artists are in the North Gate area of Colorado Springs for TAPS. That's a group that helps families whose loved ones passed away during military service. 11 News reporter Robbie Reynolds is live at Boot Barn Hall, where the event's just about to start. And Robbie, it's loud there. What's the atmosphere like?
Oh, it's fantastic, Tony. One act is warming up right now. I'm going to go ahead and give you a look at them right now up on the stage here. The event is officially going to start at 6, but people are filing in right now. Most of the people here are those families who have lost a loved one. TAP stands for Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. They help out those families while also bringing them together. Laura Benton lost her husband, Kevin, to suicide 3 years ago, and she now volunteers with this group.
We have to learn how to live again, how to just be happy and be okay with being happy and keeping their legacy alive.
To be here and celebrate service and sacrifice is just going to make it a tremendous evening.
Now you can still buy tickets at the door for this event. They're going to be going until 9:30 tonight. Lots of fun out here, Tony, so definitely something you want to consider. Live in Colorado Springs, Robbie Reynolds, KKTV 11 News.
Hey, thank you, Robbie. Sounds like it's going to be a good time, that's for sure. Well, switching gears, we're following up on a story we told you about last night. This is important. The sheriff's office is asking for help finding a man who is wanted for attempted murder. This happened Thursday night at the Taco Bell in Pueblo West on McCulloch Boulevard. Now, he's accused of grabbing a 17-year-old boy by the neck, choking him until he lost consciousness. Another 20-year-old was also assaulted, and this is who deputies are looking for. He's 39-year-old Luis Figueroa. Now, right now, it's not clear what led up to the whole thing, but as always, anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. The number's there on your screen. It's 542-STOP. Well, a new park in Colorado Springs has a special meaning built into it. A ribbon-cutting ceremony was held today at Edison Elementary School on Hancock Avenue. That's just west of Palmer Park here in Colorado Springs. And while we were there today, we learned the mosaic butterflies represent the love 5-year-old Sophia Murphy had for the insect. The basketballs at the park showcase the passion her brother, 7-year-old Noah, had for the sport. The siblings were tragically killed by their own brother, Malik, in October of 2017. Their parents were there for the ribbon cutting at the park, and the students of the school helped build it.
And they actually physically built our climbing wall, benches, entry gates, ceramic tiles. The students were heavily involved in the work.
Now, Malik is waiting a February trial for the violent stabbing spree, but today was about remembering and honoring the lives of Noah and Sophia. Well, the number of vaping-related illnesses continues to rise. Coming up on 11 News, even though the CDC is linking most cases to THC products, find out why one state is taking a stand against all vaping products. But first, on the eve of what would have been the victim's birthday, the trial of an ex-Dallas police officer charged with killing a man in his own apartment continues.
From the 70s back to the 60s, Tony, you notice those overnight lows near freezing Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
Fall is upon us.
Fall, it's finally feeling like fall.
He said dry about 30 times, so we can't say it enough, guys. You know, be fire-wise out there, plain and simple.
Yeah, you're going to have to this time of the year. We don't get a ton of moisture.
All right, thanks as always, Jordan. We've got an update now. Speaking of the dry conditions, reinforcements are showing up to help contain the Decker fire. That's in anticipation of the red flag warnings that we're going to be under. The fire has grown to almost 1,400 acres. The wildfire is burning 9 miles south of Salida. A lightning strike started this blaze earlier this month. Firefighters say they were letting it burn using natural barriers and monitoring it. Well, an emergency landing on a highway. Coming up on 11 News, a plane burst into flames. Details on how the pilot is doing after this frightening scene. And Richie, what's coming up in sports?
Yeah, Tony, your Air Force Falcons combined for 41 points in a thrashing of San Jose State Friday. So today, we're going to Dalton Reiser's always up for a challenge. He's always positive, too. 2:25 tomorrow, Broncos and Jags. You can watch the game right here on KKTV. And, of course, Taylor Kilgore will be at the game for us as well.
And you'll have the highlights, of
I will
course.
have the
Oh, my
highlights.
gosh. Said Reisner, of course, I immediately started thinking about when he grabbed Lindsey and then brought Lindsey back into the end zone. I'm excited for the Broncos tomorrow. We'll see what they can do. I'm one of those fans that I'm not going to give up hope.
Nope. That's good.
So Lindsey's going to have 400 yards rushing.
Wow,
8
good
touchdowns.
fantasy
Yeah,
day.
we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Hope
But
you're right.
Richie, I'm stoked. Game day tomorrow, right here on KKTV.
Should be fun.
Well, a pilot, get this, was able to walk away with just minor injuries after this small plane crash. It happened last night in Modesto, California. The small plane made an emergency landing on Highway 99. That's right, it landed on a highway. Police say only the pilot, a 59-year-old man from Santa Cruz, was on board at the time. The sheriff's department says the plane caught fire, then burned up after landing. The pilot reported a, quote, rough running engine and then attempted to divert before the crash. Luckily, no vehicles on the road were affected, but you can imagine what that was like for a lot of the drivers, a plane just landing down and then bursting into flames. So glad the pilot was able to walk away with minor injuries. And before we go, Jordan, you got one last look at the weather.
Yeah, I really want to highlight, I'm going to use Tony's favorite word again, dry, for tomorrow. That wind's going to be really strong, too. It's going to be cranking right by noontime. You'll have that right on through the afternoon into the evening. Wind gusts in excess of 40 miles per hour at times, even up in Woodland Park. So that's going to be a concern. Any fires that get going tomorrow will get out of control very quickly. And across far eastern Colorado, that wind will be strong overnight, too. So on to our fire meter here, we're one notch away from extreme. So definitely something to be thinking about if you're planning on barbecuing for the game tomorrow. Charcoal, probably not going to be the best idea.
Be smart, guys.
Hank Hill would approve some propane if you're going to grill tomorrow.
Classic Jordan on that. Well, hey, again, this is it for 11 News at 5:30, but we'll see you again tonight at 10.
News leader with your certified most accurate forecast. This is KKTV 11 News at 5:30.
Well, coming up on 11 News at 5:30, honoring lives lost when it comes to the Thin Red Line. If you weren't one of the thousands able to make it out for the Fallen Firefighters Memorial, we have more on the 250 names added to the memorial here in Colorado Springs. Good evening, I'm Tony Keith. Thanks for joining us, and this is happening right now. An event here in Colorado Springs drawing hundreds of firefighters from all across the country, honoring the lives of 250 people who died serving their community. It's the Fallen Firefighter Memorial, and it takes place every year at Memorial Park, the service. And this year, thousands of people came out to pay their respects. 11 News reporter Ashley Franco is live at Memorial Park. Ashley, you were at the ceremony today.
Yeah, Tony, there are still a few people here paying their respects at a place anyone can come to in Colorado Springs 365 days a year. Today's ceremony
in less than 15 minutes. Tony?
Well, thank you, Lucy. Firefighters across the state of Colorado have had their hands full today. A fire burning in Custer County brought in a large air tanker. Now, originally, fire officials thought the blaze was a lot bigger. Some really good news, though. At last update, it was about 2 acres, and this was burning southwest of Pueblo, just east of the Greenhorn Highway, south of Fairview. A pre-evacuation notice for about 8 structures was lifted at about 3:20 this afternoon. The cause remains under investigation. Well, now to an update. Crews are gaining control of a fire burning west of Denver in the mountains. Highway 6 just opened back up a couple of hours ago between 93 and 119 in Jefferson County. It was closed due to this, the Bald Mountain Fire. The latest update coming in at about 3. The blaze was 50% contained with about 17 acres burned. Someone spotted smoke from the fire yesterday afternoon. Well, protesters and counter-protesters took to the streets of Colorado today over the ICE facility. At about 11 this morning, protesters standing against the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement started marching in City Park in Denver along Colfax to the Immigration Building in Aurora. There they stopped across from counter-protesters in support of ICE at about 2 this afternoon. Police were able to shut down roads for the march, and Aurora police just tweeted after 4 saying today's protest and rally was a, quote, prime example of how everyone can safely and peacefully assemble. Well, officers are asking for your help finding a wanted man. Now, they say he allegedly broke into his ex-girlfriend's house and then assaulted her. The Pueblo County Sheriff's Office is looking for this man, 39-year-old Jeremy Ryan Sisson. He is wanted on a felony warrant. Officers say that he broke into his ex-girlfriend's home on Wednesday night. The 61-year-old woman has serious injuries from the assault. She says he forced her to stay in the house, and she was able to get away from him Thursday afternoon to call for help. As always, if you have any information, please call Pueblo Crime Stoppers. The number's there on your screen. It's going to be 542-STOP. Of course, you can remain anonymous. Well, saving lives one step at a time. Widener Park was packed this morning for the St. Jude Walk and Run. Now, KKTV is a partner of St. Jude for this walk. The reason, St. Jude works every day to help kids with their battle against cancer and the overall hope of ending childhood cancer, but the mission is a pricey one. The daily operating cost for St. Jude is about $2.2 million. Again, that's daily, but 75% of the costs are covered by you, the public.
The impact this has on a family is outrageous, and people don't realize that, and St. Jude's is doing something about that, and that's a great thing.
The goal for today's walk is about $80,000. At last check, more than $68,000 was raised, but you've got until October 8th to help hit that goal and donate. Just go to KKTV.com, click the red Find It tab. A major recall just got bigger. Still to come on 11 News, details on the recall GM owners need to know about. And later in the show, Pueblo police make a bust that is only adding fuel to the fire when it comes to the green chili debate. Which is better, Hatch or Pueblo chilies? Coming up on 11 News at 10, with crews battling multiple fires in Colorado, we've got some good news on a couple of blazes popping up this week and a message to everyone when it comes to being fire-wise. Plus, protesters marching to Colorado's ICE facility were met by counter-protesters in support of the federal agency. Hear from both sides. And 250 new names added to the Colorado Springs Fallen Firefighter Memorial. We take you to the ceremony attended by thousands of people from across the country.
Now, with 11 minutes of non-stop news and your certified most accurate forecast, this is KKTV 11 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Tony Keith, and thanks for joining us. We start with this 11 breaking news alert. A cyclist is seriously injured after a crash tonight. It happened near Tejon, close to Motorway, just south of downtown Colorado Springs. Police tell us the cyclist is expected to survive. Southbound Tejon was closed from 7 until about 9 this evening. Police believe a teenage boy went through a red light while riding his bicycle southbound on Tejon and then was hit by a vehicle traveling westbound on Motorway. The teenager riding the bike could be ticketed, but the crash does remain under investigation. Well, summer may be coming to an end, but fire danger is still a concern. We have a few updates from the blazes in our area right now. A wildfire burning south of Salida, known as the Decker Fire, has scorched about 900 acres. Fire officials say dead trees are the main fuel for the blaze. They're letting this burn now to reduce the risk of a more catastrophic wildfire in the future. There are no evacuations or closures from this fire at this time. And crews took care of a fire burning in Custer County today. They gained full containment of the 2-acre blaze that was burning southwest of Pueblo, just east of the Greenhorn Highway south of Fairview. At one point, the fire was threatening about 8 structures. The cause of that fire also under investigation. And the Bald Mountain fire is now 75% contained. It's burning west of Denver in the mountains. Highway 6 between 93 and 119 in Jefferson County back open this evening. As of this afternoon, it was closed yesterday because of the fire. The fire has burned at least 17 acres with the cause still under investigation. And with these fires sprouting up across the state, both crews and homeowners should always be prepared for the worst. 11 News reporter Robbie Reynolds is live at Fire Station 9 on Garden of the Gods. Robbie, our fire crews want everyone to be extra cautious.
Well, absolutely, Tony. And that arrow behind me pretty much tells you everything you need to know. The fire danger.
Well, just about everyone has heard about the Facebook event to storm Area 51. The creator claims it was all just a joke, but so many people made the trek to see what is at Area 51 for themselves. Yeah, bit ridiculous. Love this video. It's day 3. It's just coming to an end of Storm Area 51, and the festivities are continuing in the town of Rachel. The extraterrestrial events have brought an estimated 3,000 people to a small town with a population of less than 60, so that's pretty cool in itself. Law enforcement has reported a total of at least 7 arrests, including 3 for trespassing. So if you're know anybody from Colorado Springs who went, let us know, all right?
Yeah, pretty fun.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great night and a great weekend.
That old lady with her glasses was
That's
the
what
best
Nathan
thing
saw, too.
ever.
Forecast. This is KKTV 11 News at 5:30.
And coming up on 11 News at 5:30, honoring nearly 400 men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. We were there for the start of Colorado's first ever Run for the Fallen. Good evening, I'm Tony Keith, and thanks so much for joining us. Now, you may have seen the runners across Colorado Springs today. The Run for the Fallen is a nationwide event, but this is a first for Colorado. They plan on running 100 miles, stopping each mile to honor men and women who have died during the War on Terror. This run gives families a chance to honor their loved ones and ensure that their name lives on.
The worrisome thing about our kids being killed is that they'll be forgotten. You know, as long as we live, they'll be remembered. But there are organizations out there that assure us that no matter how long we live, our kids will always be remembered.
The runners started at Fort Carson this morning. They're going to stop in Castle Rock tonight at about 8 and then start right back up tomorrow morning. They're going to end the run at Fort Logan National Cemetery in Inglewood. We'll, of course, have more on this at 11 News at 10. Well, new photos into the newsroom this evening of the Decker fire burning in Fremont County. Just take a look at these. A public meeting taking place right now on the blaze that is about 9 miles south of Salida. The fire activity picked up today because of the sunshine. The last update came a couple of hours ago. 0% containment with about
forecast. I'll walk you through it coming up in less than 15 minutes. Tony?
Well, thanks as always, Lucy. We got stunning photos shared with us from a pair of local photographers, and they're also devastating. Kimmy and Joe Randall were driving near Spinney Reservoir in Park County on Thursday when they noticed some flames. It was an old rail house, we're told more than 100 years old, along the Midland Railroad. Hartselle Fire tells us the cause is unknown, and because the structure was so old, they likely will never find out. The Randalls tell us this was a well-known landmark for photographers. A man is in the hospital after he was found shot behind a shopping center. This happened shortly after midnight near the Knolls at Sweetgrass apartment complex on the west side of Colorado Springs. Police found the victim and helped until paramedics could get there.
No, I just appreciate the help of the paramedics coming out here so quick and the officers rendering aid. I think that's what really helps as far as the survivability we have with a lot of these victims in this particular case.
The suspect fled in a sedan heading southbound after the shooting and was long gone before officers arrived. Now, detectives are still working on leads to identify the shooter, but they don't believe there's a threat to the public at this time. The victim is expected to recover. Well, the Mayfield Counseling Center is doing their part to raise awareness. Coming up on 11 News at 10, a Monument bike shop owner shot and killed in cold blood 2 years ago today. The message his friend has for the community. Plus, a plume of smoke seen for miles. Details on a health advisory you need to know about if you live near the Decker fire. And honoring the men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice in the War on Terror. We were there for the first ever Colorado Run for the Fallen.
Now, with 11 minutes of nonstop news and your certified most accurate forecast. This is KKTV 11 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Tony Keith, and thanks for joining us. We start with this 11 breaking news alert. A serious rollover crash sent multiple people to the hospital. This was the scene soon after it happened on Jetwing Drive, just off of South Academy on the southeast side of Colorado Springs. Police were called to the single vehicle crash at about 6:45. There is a possibility the driver was under the influence, but that remains under investigation. Firefighters had no problem finding the vehicle with the station right across the street.
I happened to be here, we were in the station conversing, heard the accident, looked out the window and saw it. So obviously we had a really quick response time.
5 people were taken to the hospital with minor to moderate injuries. The crash has since been cleared. Well, 2 years and still more questions than answers in the murder of a Palmer Lake mountain biker. Tim Watkins was found shot to death on Mount Herman Road on this day in 2017. 11 News reporter Robbie Reynolds spoke to one of his friends today. And Robbie, what's his message to the public?
Well, Tony, they tell me the most important thing to them is finding out exactly what happened to Tim. They want to see closure for his family. There are no named suspects in the investigation as it continues.
11 News at 5:30.
Coming up on 11 News at 5:30, everything we know about a series of separate crashes in Colorado Springs in the past 24 hours. 2 involving possible DUIs and another where 3 pedestrians were hit. Good evening, I'm Tony Keith. Thanks so much for joining us. This is new tonight. A wild scene near Old Colorado City. Police believe the driver, who may have been under the influence, was involved in 3 separate crashes, taking out barriers, fences. It started near Shelton and 8th Street before the driver plowed through about 75 yards of bushes off the road. That's almost the length of a football field, and ended up here on Highway 24. The driver was arrested, and the westbound lanes of Highway 24 have since reopened. It isn't clear what charges the driver could be facing. Well, it's now time for your No Wait.
It's Tony.
Thank you, Lucy. 3 people lucky to be alive today. Police say they were walking with shopping carts in the middle of a Colorado Springs road late last night when they got hit by a car. This was the scene at about 11 at Janitel Road and East Las Vegas Street. That's just southeast of downtown. Police told us at the scene they don't believe the driver was at fault. The intersection was shut down for part of last night. All 3 of the homeless men hit have minor injuries. It isn't clear if anyone's going to be cited. Well, police are investigating a possible DUI crash. This happened last night about 9:30. The single vehicle crash was near Powers and Woodman on the northeast side of Colorado Springs. One person was detained, but details on possible injuries were not released. No roads were closed due to this accident. The cause of the crash is under investigation. A woman wanted by police now in custody. Pueblo police say they found a few people lurking behind stores on North Elizabeth Street last night. Happened just after midnight. 2 men and a woman told police they were dumpster diving. Police say the woman had a felony warrant for drug possession. She was then arrested and booked into jail. This is new tonight. Walking for others and walking for a cure. People gathered at Lake Pueblo today for one of a dozen walks to end Alzheimer's in Colorado this year. The Pueblo Walk has a goal of 90 grand. Too soon to tell how much was raised today, but I'm guessing they either hit or exceeded it with more than 400 people attending. The Colorado Springs Walk is coming up on September 21st at America the Beautiful Park. There are about 73,000 people living with Alzheimer's in our state. Well, a massive volunteer effort. More than 400 veterans from southern Colorado were given free food today. Local veterans and their families were given a week's worth of complimentary packaged food, fresh produce, and personal care items. The event was earlier today, starting at 9 this morning and ran all the way until 1 this afternoon. The food was gathered and shipped out at CSU Pueblo. The Coalition to Salute America's Heroes partnered with several other organizations to make this event possible.
As you see, there's nearly 100 people out here bending over backwards to thank them through this volunteer project.
Seriously, this was huge. More than 27,000 pounds of food and other items were given to 480 veterans and their families. But they say they want to make next year's event bigger and better to help more veterans. This is happening right now. If you're headed down I-25 this weekend, we want to give you a heads up about some new construction. They started work on the area yesterday. It's a 12-mile stretch of the interstate south of Pueblo, and it's going to be shut down until next Friday. All right, I've got to say thank you to about 100 people who were at CSU Pueblo today for the first ever Southern Colorado Veterans Food Drop, and it was a huge success, helping feed more than 400 veterans for a week here in our community.
Pretty amazing event we got going on today.
The cars were loaded up. An event several years in the making.
27,000 pounds of food and provisions are going to 400 needy veterans and their families.
Matt Albright, the director for the Center of American Values, has poured his heart and soul into the first ever event.
I mean, our veterans stood at the tip of the spear. They protected our freedom. They went out there, selflessly served. Now a few of them need a little bit of help. And
veterans like Isaac Long were there to help.
I love helping veterans. That's a passion I have.
He was in the Army for 5 years, spending some of that time in Afghanistan.
I definitely wouldn't want to do this alone. This is a lot of legwork, a lot of effort.
And he wasn't alone.
There's nearly 100 people out here bending over backwards to thank them. Next year we hope to make it bigger and even better and help more veterans.
Something tells me it will be bigger and better. Awesome group of people there. Well, today is National Beer Lovers Day, because that's a thing. It's a day that perfectly coincides with the start of college football season. Now, many think that beer is synonymous with college football and other American sports like baseball. The drink is a well-known part of American history, though. The Virginia colonists reportedly brewed beer, and George Washington even recorded a recipe for brewing beer in his notes. You can celebrate the day on social media by posting pictures of the beer of your choice with the hashtag National Beer Lovers Day. And always, as always, just drink responsibly, people. We're about to hit break, but coming up on 11 News, a day for the dogs. A look at an end of the season celebration for one of Colorado's most popular water parks. Robbie?
Tony, upset city in Boulder today. Colorado pulls off a big win against Nebraska.